Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic were once incredibly close. Their relationship built on mutual trust, unwavering loyalty, and a common goal of bringing championship glory to Dallas. However, their dynamic shifted dramatically when Luka was dealt to the Lakers in a trade that reportedly even caught Cuban off guard. Fans were left stunned, and recent video clips showing interactions between Cuban and Luka have only intensified speculation about tension between the two. Whenever Luka had the ball in his hands, Cuban was spotted booing loudly, and at one point, Luka glanced over at him and retorted, "Mark, shut up." Did Cuban deceive Luka? How did Luka truly feel about the situation? And what were the actual reasons behind the trade? Let's explore the bombshell trade, Cuban's controversial response, the duo's past partnership, and Luka's iconic tenure with the Mavericks before everything unraveled. The footage, seeing Luka Doncic donning a Lakers uniform, it's an image that still feels surreal to NBA fans. Then came that pivotal moment. Mark Cuban, a now minority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, was seen courtside at a Lakers-Mavs game greeting Luka's father and agent. If you spent any time online recently, you've likely seen the clip. It spread like wildfire on social media. The camera angle that captured the interaction made it appear particularly tense. Cuban approached Luka's father, Luka Doncic, and his agent, Bill Duffy, during the pregame warm-ups, but the atmosphere seemed anything but casual. There were no smiles, no lighthearted chatter, just a brief exchange before Cuban turned and walked away. Naturally, NBA Twitter erupted with speculation, buzzing with theories about potential friction. The scene gained even more intrigue when Luka was momentarily seen glancing toward the interaction before refocusing on his shooting drills. That fleeting pause left fans pondering. Was Luka feeling uneasy? Was it his way of checking on his father and agent? Or was he simply curious to observe Cuban's demeanor? So, was the encounter truly as intense as it appeared? Honestly, not quite. A closer examination of the footage reveals no heated exchange, no hostile gestures. Yet that didn't stop fans from meticulously breaking down every second of it, eager to uncover whether any residual tension lingered from Luka's shocking trade. And let's face it, both Cuban and Doncic's camp have plenty of reasons to harbor unspoken emotions. It wasn't that long ago when Mark Cuban described Luka as the best player in franchise history and vowed he'd never be dealt. Now, fast forward to today, and Luka is donning a Lakers jersey, squaring off against a team that, not too long ago, was supposed to be his permanent home. So, sure, even if Cuban has let bygones be bygones, it's hard to imagine this interaction not being awkward. And let's be honest, it's not just about Luka. The entire way the trade unfolded adds to the tension. On February 1st, 2025, Luka Doncic was shipped off to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round draft pick. It's a deal that feels more like something from an NBA 2K fantasy mode than reality. Yet here we are, it actually happened. What makes it even more surprising? Luka himself never saw it coming. When the news initially surfaced, the reactions were all over the map. Fans and journalists were abuzz, questioning how the Mavericks could part ways with their star player in exchange for several aging players, all without any prior indication. Dirk Nowitzki, a Hall of Famer and Luka's former teammate and mentor, was quick to express his disbelief and dismay regarding the trade. In his own words, "I was just as shocked and surprised as anyone else. Honestly, I couldn't even believe it. Naturally, I felt a bit disappointed and sad for him." The trade blindsided the entire league, but what made it even more dramatic was Luka's personal reaction. Insiders revealed that Luka was stunned when he received the call, especially given that he thought the Mavericks were focused on building the team around him, not planning to send him to a different organization. He neither asked for a trade nor demanded to leave. One morning, he simply woke up and discovered he was no longer in Dallas, but on his way to LA. And here's the kicker. Mark Cuban was caught off guard, too. Cuban later admitted he didn't have a say in the deal. After it all went down, he sat down with Bill Gates for an interview, where he humorously referenced the trade. He joked, "Imagine leaving Microsoft and then finding out Steve Ballmer decided to trade Windows 11, the cutting-edge operating system, for Windows 10, the older but Hall of Fame-worthy version. How would you react?" By 2023, Cuban had sold most of his stake in the Mavericks, retaining only a minority share, which meant he no longer had the final word on basketball decisions. That authority now belonged to General Manager Nico Harrison and team Governor Patrick Dumont, who, it seems, concluded that swapping Luka for Anthony Davis was the right path forward. Mark Cuban, who spent years constructing the Mavericks foundation around Luka Doncic, found himself relegated to the sidelines, powerless, as a star player was traded without his involvement. For someone as invested in maintaining control as Cuban, that had to sting. But things only get messier from here. Luka wasn't merely another athlete in the Mavericks lineup. He was the cornerstone. Dallas had never seen a young prodigy like him. While Dirk Nowitzki became an iconic figure, he wasn't deemed a once-in-a-generation player at 19 in the way Luka was. The moment Doncic donned a Mavericks jersey, Cuban seemed determined to make Dallas his permanent home. So, for Cuban to be excluded from such a monumental decision regarding Luka's departure, it must have felt like a serious affront. Which leads us back to this lingering question. Was Cuban just putting on a professional front? Most likely. But deep down, was he reflecting on how he had no say whatsoever in the decision to trade away the franchise's biggest star? Without a doubt. And let's not overlook Luka's perspective in all of this. This wasn't something he wanted. He never requested to be moved. Yet, even though he's putting on a confident front and delivering superstar performances for the Lakers, You can't help but wonder, does a part of him still feel some kind of way about how it all unfolded? Because now, every time Luka faces off against the Mavericks, it's deeply personal. If he ever chooses to make them regret their decision, no one could fault him. After all, this trade wasn't just a simple transaction. It felt like a profound betrayal. Mark Cuban had once pledged that Luka's future in Dallas was non-negotiable. A commitment not only to Luka, but also to fans and the larger basketball community. And now here we stand. That tense courtside interaction, the handshake, the palpable strain, was more than just an uncomfortable encounter. It marked the closing act of what was once thought to be an enduring partnership. Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic weren't merely an owner and a star player. They were envisioned as the masterminds behind the Mavericks' next legendary era. So how did things unravel so completely? How did we go from Cuban vowing that Luka was untouchable to him, standing by as Luka was traded away, seemingly without his blessing? This is the story of the once strong connection between Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic. If there was one certainty in the NBA, it was that Mark Cuban would never consider trading Luka Doncic. This wasn't mere speculation. It came directly from Cuban himself. In 2020, when Luka was already cementing his place as one of the brightest young talents in the league, Cuban made it clear that any trade rumors involving Luka were entirely baseless. During an interview that same year, Cuban was faced with a hypothetical question. Would he choose to keep Luka on the Mavericks or stay married to his wife? His unforgettable response was, "If it came down to my wife or keeping Luka, you'd find me in my lawyer's office filing for a divorce." When pressed further about whether there was any situation where the Mavericks might consider parting ways with Doncic, Cuban left no room for doubt. He bluntly stated he valued Luka's place on the team more than his marriage. At the time, his conviction made perfect sense. Luka wasn't just the present. He was the cornerstone for Dallas' future. He was delivering MVP-level performances, steering the Mavericks into the playoffs, and already looking like a generational talent destined to spend his whole career with the team, much like Dirk Nowitzki had. Cuban's absolute faith in Luka was evident in how he constructed the roster, giving Luka the reins of the offense and ensuring the team's identity revolved entirely around him. Cuban's statements weren't casual remarks, they were a commitment. He had once assured everyone that Luka was untouchable. So when the trade went down, it wasn't just another routine business decision. It was an outright reversal of everything Cuban had previously stood for. Although Cuban officially no longer had any influence over the decision, it doesn't erase the reality that his team did something he vowed would never happen. Luka wasn't simply traded. He was sent to the Lakers, a franchise that embodies everything Cuban had worked to differentiate Dallas from. Let's be honest, if Cuban still held any authority, this deal would have never come past. The fact that it did, under new leadership and management, makes one thing clear. Luka was never their guy in the way he had been Cuban's. Now the big question is, how does Luka feel about this? He hasn't publicly shared his thoughts, but it's easy to guess this wasn't the future he envisioned. For years, he had believed Dallas was his team, his home. He had Cuban's unwavering support. And then, just like that, it was all over. No warnings, no discussions, just a call informing him he was now headed for Los Angeles. Experiences like that leave lasting emotional wounds. Mark Cuban has consistently been more than merely a team owner. He's been a dynamic force. While many owners prefer to remain in the background, leaving responsibilities to their front office, Cuban has always taken a more hands-on approach. His involvement is marked by enthusiasm and a constant presence, particularly when it comes to his team. The arrival of Luka Doncic was no exception. From the day Luka landed in Dallas, Cuban embraced him like family. He was the first to sing Luka's praises in interviews, labeling him as the next big thing in the NBA. Cuban was quick to shut down any negative narratives, rejecting claims about Luka being a poor teammate or lacking fitness. His faith in Luka was unwavering, and he ensured that everyone was aware of it. But Cuban didn't just express his support through words. He backed it up with action. He wasn't simply lounging in the owner's box, passively observing from a distance. He stood right on the sidelines, observing every matchup, responding to each play, and cheering for every Luka highlight with the enthusiasm of a proud parent. This wasn't just a boss-employee dynamic. He was undoubtedly one of Luka's most ardent supporters. Off the court, Cuban consistently demonstrated how much he appreciated Luka's talent and presence. And wow, what a kick and play style. I mean, his ability to make shots at just the right moments, his improved free throws, his shooting, everything about his game keeps evolving. And that's on top of someone who was already exceptional. Truly exceptional. Again and again, Cuban spoke about Luka like he was the best thing to ever happen to the Mavericks. Beyond his words, Cuban was often spotted personally greeting Sasa Doncic and Bill Duffy during games. These weren't mere formalities. They were meaningful gestures of respect toward the people closest to Luka. This was his attempt to emphasize that Luka wasn't just his go-to guy on the court, but someone he valued as an individual. That's precisely why this trade is so startling. For years, it appeared that Cuban and Luka shared a connection that transcended the professional realm. Cuban wasn't solely focused on achieving victories. He aimed to forge a deeper bond with Luka, much like he had with Dirk. Their relationship seemed to be rooted in mutual trust and loyalty, making it feel highly personal. Yet, in the end, business priorities prevailed. Whether Cuban accepts it or not, Luka is no longer there. And while Cuban had no power to prevent the outcome, that widely shared courtside footage reveals the tension is undeniable. Because despite the courteous handshake, the reality behind it was evident to all who were watching. Things took a dramatic turn, never to revert to how they once were. A shift in ownership brought with it a fresh power structure that effectively cut Cuban out of critical decision-making processes. As a result, even though Cuban had famously considered Doncic untouchable, the decision to trade him was made without his involvement. This overhaul not only reshaped the team's roster, but also deeply impacted the bond between Cuban and Doncic. The new regime made the trade purely as a business move, neglecting the long-standing relationship and mutual admiration that had been built over time, as well as the unwavering dedication Doncic had shown to elevate the Mavericks to their former glory. So, it was hardly shocking when Luka eventually faced his old team on opposing sides of the court, determined to remind them just how grave their mistake was in trading him with such little regard for loyalty. The lingering emotional weight of the trade was evident when Doncic met the Mavericks for the first time as rivals. On February 25, 2025, he led the Los Angeles Lakers to a hard-fought 107-99 win over the Dallas team. Although victorious, the game was emotionally charged for Doncic, who admitted to feeling a sense of relief after it was over, saying, "I don't know. Honestly, I just don't know. The moments were just so strange. At times, I felt completely lost, unsure of what I was doing, but I'm really happy we managed to come out with a win." When questioned about the instances during the game where he seemed to zone out and turn the ball over, he admitted, "Honestly, I can't recall. There were so many emotions, and it felt like I was on autopilot. I can't even put it into words. It felt like a completely different game." He added, "Like I said, sometimes I had no idea what I was doing out there, and honestly, I'm just relieved it's done." Luka Doncic's first time playing against the Dallas Mavericks while wearing a Los Angeles Lakers jersey was far more than an ordinary game. It was an intense, emotional experience. From the opening tip-off, it was evident that Luka was wrestling with the significance of the situation. Everything from the familiar faces on the opposing sideline and the cheers of fans who used to support him, to the flood of memories tied to his years in a Mavericks uniform. All of it came together to create a daunting beginning for the rising star. His play early on was noticeably unsteady, reflecting his struggle to find balance in such a high-pressure encounter. Basic passes missed their target, and his typically reliable shooting seemed off. It was clear to onlookers that he appeared uncertain, almost as if the emotional weight of facing his former team was impacting his performance. Sensing that Luka was having a tough time, his new teammates stepped up to support him. LeBron James, drawing on his extensive experience, took the lead by assisting Luka in scoring 16 of his 27 points during the fourth quarter, securing a third consecutive victory for Los Angeles and their 13th win in 16 games. Following the game, LeBron had heartfelt comment about his teammate, saying, "We understood as a team that we wanted to get this win for him. We're all aware of what's happened recently. As his teammates, our goal was to support him in any way possible. I'm glad I, along with the rest of the team, could make a few key plays late in the game to help him get this win." He might not openly admit it, but I believe it truly means a lot to him. This collective show of support resonated throughout the Lakers roster, with players offering encouragement and adapting their approach to better aid Luka. Buoyed by the encouragement of his teammates, Luka began to hit his stride. The tide turned in the third quarter when, following a strong defensive effort, Doncic delivered a dazzling no-look pass to LeBron, who finished with an explosive dunk. This moment electrified the fans and seemed to ease the pressure weighing on Luka. From then on, Doncic played with a noticeable boost in confidence. His offense was sharp and calculated. He attacked the rim with determination, and he displayed the signature creativity that has cemented his reputation in the league. By the end of the game, he had tallied an impressive triple-double with 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists. However, his shooting performance was below his usual standard, converting only 6 of his 17 attempts. As he notched his first triple-double in a Lakers jersey, he also struggled from the field, missing 11 of those 17 shots and struggling from beyond the arc. While he delivered a dozen remarkable passes and an equal number of key defensive plays, he managed just 2 points in the final period of a closely contested game. Throughout the entirety of the game, Doncic frequently shot piercing glances toward the Mavericks bench, a clear display of the tangled emotions he was still working through. While the victory was crucial for the Lakers' playoff positioning, for Luka, it carried a far more personal weight. The trade that landed him in Los Angeles had come out of nowhere, and going up against a team that once deemed him untouchable brought a unique emotional intensity. The fans were equally integral to the evening's atmosphere. Mavericks loyalists, still grappling with the shock of the trade, sported Doncic's former jerseys, a testament to their unwavering support. The blend of cheers and jeers from the crowd underscored the bittersweet complexity surrounding Doncic's exit and his return as an opponent. Meanwhile, Lakers fans, thrilled with the acquisition, shouted chants of "Thank you, Nico," a nod to Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison, who had orchestrated the deal. During the game, Chandler Parsons, seated beside Mark Cuban, shared a lighthearted moment that unfolded between Cuban and Luka. According to Parsons, Cuban humorously booed Luka from sidelines. In response, Doncic, noticing the gesture, cracked a smile and playfully shouted back, "Shut up, Mark." Whenever Luka got his hands on the ball, Cuban wouldn't hesitate to start booing him. At one point during the game, Luka glanced over at him and jokingly said, "Mark, be quiet." The remark drew laughter from those nearby and contributed to the lighthearted energy. The game carried a palpable playoff intensity throughout the night. That brief interaction showcased the enduring connection between the two, even amidst the recent drama. When the final buzzer rang, Luka Doncic paused at center court, taking a moment to soak in the environment. The game had tested his emotional strength, adaptability, and determination. With his new teammates and the Lakers faithful behind him, he faced the whirlwind of emotions that came with playing against his old team and emerged triumphant. After the game, during a post-match interview, he was asked if he sought closure with his former bosses. Honestly, closure will take some time, he admitted. It's just not the ideal situation. As I've mentioned before, I'm relieved this game is finally behind us. Emotions run high, as you'd expect, but we take things one step at a time, and each day brings improvement. However, one game doesn't undo everything Luka achieved in Dallas. Like it or not, the Mavericks can't escape the reality that Doncic's legacy with the team is firmly etched into its history. From his beginnings as an exceptionally gifted teenager to evolving into a generational player, his impact on the Mavericks is indelible. So, let's reflect on what Luka truly meant to this franchise. Luka Doncic's story with the Dallas Mavericks is one of stunning ascent, steadfast commitment, and a meaningful connection with team owner Mark Cuban. During the 2018 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks selected Doncic with the 3rd overall pick. However, a prearranged trade sent him to the Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young and a future first-round selection. This calculated decision by Dallas's management showcased their confidence in Doncic's ability to redefine the team's future trajectory. Mark Cuban, reflecting on the choice, expressed, "There's no doubt in my mind that he has the potential to rank among the top 2 or 3 players in history." Luka wasted no time proving his abilities. During his rookie season in 2018 to 2019, he posted impressive averages of 21.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 6.0 assists per game. His blend of skills and composure earned him the NBA Rookie of the Year title, making him only the 2nd European player after Pau Gasol to achieve this feat. Dirk Nowitzki, his teammate in Dirk's final season, shared, "The way he reads the game on the court is something I've never experienced." Luka thrives in high-pressure situations. "We often discuss basketball, but he doesn't require any guidance from me. He's an incredible talent and a phenomenal player," Dirk added. Watching him adapt so seamlessly to the NBA, it was clear we were witnessing the beginning of something extraordinary. His greatness is undeniable. Outside the basketball court, Luka and Mark Cuban cultivated a bond that went beyond the usual player-owner relationship. Cuban's active involvement and sincere care for his players' welfare created a family-like environment within the team. He frequently hosted Luka for dinners at his home, where their conversations spanned not just basketball tactics, but also topics like life, business ventures, and personal development. This guidance became a crucial pillar of support for Luka, helping him adjust to both the NBA and living in the United States. During his 2nd season, Luka established himself as a rising NBA star. He posted remarkable averages of 28.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 8.8 assists per game, securing his first NBA All-Star nod as a starter. His skill set drew comparisons to basketball greats, with many praising his exceptional court vision and ability to deliver under pressure. As the years went on, Luka's list of achievements expanded. He consistently ranked among the league's statistical leaders and produced unforgettable performances. On December 27, 2022, he made history with a 60-point, 21-rebound triple-double against the New York Knicks, becoming the first player ever to accomplish that milestone. On January 25, 2024, he was announced as a Western Conference starter for the NBA All-Star Game, marking his 5th straight appearance and the 4th time he earned a starting spot. Later, in May 2024, he guided the Mavericks to the NBA Finals and was named Western Conference Finals MVP. Although the team ultimately lost to the Boston Celtics, his playoff run was celebrated, highlighted by clutch performances and several triple-doubles. However, significant changes unfolded in 2023 when Mark Cuban sold the majority ownership of the Mavericks to the Adelson family, retaining only a minority share. The shift in ownership brought about a new decision-making structure within the franchise. In a shocking turn during the 2024 to 2025 season, the new leadership dealt Luka to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for star players, including Anthony Davis. Luka's influence on the Mavericks remains undeniable. He energized the team, inspired the fan base, and became a symbol of hope for Dallas. His jersey consistently ranked as a bestseller, and his efforts in the local community left a lasting impression. Reflecting on his talent, former coach Rick Carlisle remarked, "He's the most extraordinary player I've ever witnessed." Carlisle stated that his influence is enormous, not just because he possesses the personality, talent, physical attributes, and everything else, but also because he's nearly impossible to plan against. He determines how the game unfolds, shaping it to match his style. There's no one quite like him. His stats are nothing short of remarkable. For 6 years, Luka Doncic wasn't merely the star player for the Mavericks. He represented their very future. While his departure may have come earlier than anyone anticipated, his legacy will continue to resonate in Dallas for years to come. The real question now is whether the Mavericks can ever truly recover from the loss of a player as extraordinary as Luka Doncic. If you like this video, feel free to click on any of the suggested cards currently displayed on your screen for more content like this. Thank you for watching.